Suppose that you had the goal of saving money, all right? And so if you dropped a coin inside the piggy bank, then that would be a contributing action to your goal of saving money, all right? But if you pulled money out of your piggy bank, if the goal was to save money, then that would be a subtracting action, right? All right, a lot of people, what they do is that they say, hey, you know what? I don't know why I did that. I need to increase my self-discipline, my willpower or something. And that may be true, but I found that it's something else also. In other words, one begets another. And so I like to start with this one. And so when your goal and your why you're doing your goal is not in alignment. So in other words, if you're here to save money and you have a specific why you're saving money, and if it's not in alignment, then it can create chaos in here. In other words, all of these lines right here would be different decisions and them all not lined up heading to one goal of saving money. All right. And so what this will lead to is lacking self-discipline, procrastination, easily distracted, not dones, half dones, not following through, chasing shiny objects, unwilling to give up silly projects, and just basically chasing whatever is the latest and loudest tasks only. All right. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is how to get all of this in alignment. All right, so this video has to do with why do I want this goal? And I'm going to give you the specific questions that I ask myself, how I kind of tear into myself in terms of like making sure that that is really the why and so forth. So why do you want to have it? Why are you going to become it, meaning be it? You have to be it before you can do it. Why are you going to do it? Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing and talking about here. In the previous videos that I've done working up to this one, I did a video having to do with vision, all right? And then I told people to write what you really want in the future and then reduce this list to one thing, if you can get it to that. Sometimes, you know, you have to force two of them in there, but really try to skin that thing all the way down to just one thing that you can focus on, right? Plus your non-negotiables, right? So family, church, you know, whatever your non-negotiables are. And you have to try to pare those back too. What we're trying to do is to give you as much attention and intention to conquer the one thing, okay? That's going to most change your life. That's what, right? What you really want. The one thing that's going to most change your life. What did I want in the past? I asked people to write what they wanted in the past and then to like conclude, and I did a video specific on this, and then conclude their prior goals, all right? And to guillotine it, postpone it, or keep doing it, okay? So postpone it, like I ran across one today. I was going through something and I saw this really cool metal work. And I used to do a lot of welding. And I was like, oh man, that would be so cool to make. And so I was like, eh. And I just immediately grabbed it. It was on a Pinterest or something like that. I grabbed it and I dragged it over into a folder that I have called Someday Maybe into the category of metal projects. Okay. So welding projects or something like that. All right. So now why do we do this? Why do we go back? It's very, very simple. Because you once had a goal to do or to be or to have something. And maybe you just moved off of it because you couldn't spend time with it at that time. It's still lingering and it can end up pulling you off what you want to really do now. And you know, for an example, let's say that you have a magazine that keeps coming to you, Find Woodworking. Because you want to be a carpenter or you want to whatever. And or at one time you wanted to build furniture and you keep getting this magazine and you sit down and you spend 15, 20, 30 minutes on it. Why? That's not what you really, really want now. And so, and the other thing is this, I thought about something when I was prepping these slides. I thought, you know, I remember like going out with a girl, and then it was like, this isn't going to work out, right? And so I break up with her, and then I go out to find another girlfriend, and it wasn't working out very well. And so I end up calling the one that I didn't want to be with. I called her back. And then we started dating again. I'm like, what am I doing? Right? In other words, when the going gets a little bit tough, when you're working with prospects, you'll like start migrating back over to those old goals that you had because they were easier. All right? All right. So that's the reason that we write those up. And then, so now let's dive into this why. Why do you want what you want? What's your reason, your purpose, your why that you want to be it, do it, have it? This is important so that you sort out all intentions. Okay, so way back when I first started this series, I was talking about a laser beam, not a wide breadth like floodlight, but a laser beam. That's what you're trying to do, so that you're sorting out all of your intentions, okay, for this and also for that I'm only going to do this, okay, and ensure all are in alignment. Conflicting intentions cause problems, as I talked about in the intro there. I remember this time this girl asked me, so why did you ask me on a date? And I go, I don't know, just go hang out. Why did you say yes? And she goes, look, I'm looking for a husband who wants to have children. If we're not here for the same purpose, then we should just conclude right now. And I was like, waiter, check, check. I was like 20 years old, right? And so, but I'll never forget that girl was straight on, dialed in. She knew what she wanted. Okay? And so and she was about the same age as me. She was far ahead of me in terms of like figuring out what her purpose was. I was just like, seemed like a fun girl to go out with, you know? So anyway, this kind of helps you in understanding like, what is this why all about? So I'm just going to throw up what I have, and you can see it. So the vision, if you watch that video, it was build a life in the country, on a farm life. The family, I want that old school family love where the family gets together, we read to each other and things like that. My kids are my best friends and I'm their best friends. Community, I like a farming community, and they just, seem to be more connected to the soil and plants and animals and things like that. Why, I'm going to end up putting in here. And then the plan, network marketing to finance the country life. Now, this is something that has already been achieved, but I'm going backwards and I'm showing you what I wrote up to line it all up. All right. And what I want you to pay very close attention to is the alignment of how they all work to get that one thing. All right, so number one, to increase financial freedom affects the family and the community. To increase time freedom, it affects the family and the community. And when I say community, I'm talking about the neighbors, me being able to attend water board meetings and planning meetings and school board meetings and, congressional meetings and things like that. So to increase health affects the family and the community. Number 4 is to increase the enjoyment of life. I particularly like farm life. I like animals and horses and growing fruit, vegetables and things. It affects the family and the community. To give the gift of freedom to others, this affects globally. I could do a lot of things. I had the money to be able to finance any kind of a business that I really want, not any kind of business, but most businesses. I would be able to self-finance most businesses. But I could never give to any of my employees what I was getting. So It didn't make sense to me. I couldn't give them all of this, right? I could give them a paycheck, but I couldn't give this. And then that means that they wouldn't have the same amount. But in network marketing, I can give them more. All right, I'm standing here, I'm teaching you 100% what I did over the last 33 years to make millions of dollars. And so I know I'm giving the gift of freedom right now. And some of you will out-earn me. And I love it, okay, because you'll have an abundance of this. And then also is, and this has become very prevalent now. It wasn't so much when I first wrote this goal, but I could see it happening because I lived in a beach town over in California. And it is to sidestep the dehumanization plans and normalization of inhuman acts. All right, kind of heavy, but it's basically when one group makes less of another, it's just to justify what they're doing to them in a harmful way. All right, and so all of the prejudice conversations and stuff like that. The day that people start thinking that they're above or below somebody else, then it's I don't even want to be in the space. Okay, loss of morals, the whole focus of biotech and hacking the DNA and stuff like that. The genetically modified organisms that were going into plants and stuff. When I bought the farm, sounded kind of funny. Bought the farm, I didn't die. So when I bought this farm, I spent a whole lot of money having everything tested to make sure that no genetically modified organisms were on here, because I feel as though that it's a wrong road to go on. So all of these things are my why. Do you see, number one, they're all lined up. Number two, do you see that it's the power that I'm going to shoot that laser beam, and I've already shaken the bolts out of the truck. You know what I mean? I just really shook this thing to where I really know that this is it. I didn't just lightly throw a dart. No, I scrubbed it. I did what other thing could I do in order to live on a farm and not have to be in the city? What other thing could I do to earn the same time freedom? What other thing could I do from a health perspective? What other thing could I do? And I tried to find better scenarios than network marketing. There weren't. I could make the money, but I didn't have the time freedom. I could make the money and have the time, but it was just selfish. I couldn't give that freedom to somebody else. And so when it all came down to it, this is the reason I'm here doing what I'm doing. So here's the way I ask myself this. I ask myself these questions. Why do I want it? What's my purpose or purposes? And what are my true intentions? So if you're taking notes, and you should, this right here is how you drill yourself down to come up with these types of answers. Okay? But all of them in alignment. And there's something else about this thing called the why. And a lot of people will say stuff like, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not your real why. And I remember sitting in an audience and I was like, I've never cried about my why. I just never have. And because it's not a grief thing. For me, it is an action thing. My goal is an action thing. All right? So when my why moves me into motion, not emotion, motion. Okay, it's high action. That's what I want this stuff to do, is to move me into motion. Okay? All right, so when this is just a visual aid for you, is my whys line up, and it's exactly and precisely towards my vision and goal. And that's what you want. Goals and why you're pursuing them must be in alignment. You can't have something where this thing is pointing out that way and you're not able to spend any time with your kids. Right? So, wait a minute now. I wanted it to be a family thing, but because I have to go away all day long, then that's going to be out of alignment. And so I needed something that was everything in alignment. And in the previous video that I did, that a lot of times when somebody hasn't taken that time to dial their life in, what you're trying to do is get an intentional life. In other words, if you're not intentional, if you're not living an intentional life, then most likely you're a spectator and you're watching other people live their lives, whether it be on TV or in a video game or in a, all the different ways that you can be a spectator watching the sports and things like that. I wanted my life to be intentional. And so that's how I got all those arrows going in the same direction. So, all right. So, and this is what happens when you don't. So it's chaotic. You end up lacking self-discipline. I remember I was helping a group of older guys lose weight, and somebody said, I can't eat green vegetables. And I said, you can't or won't? And he goes, both. And I couldn't handle that. I didn't know how to help that person. And I kept on talking with him for a while, and he ended up kind of sharing that, what his lifestyle was and what he did and so forth. And he had gone so out of motion that all he did was sit on his computer all day and half the night. And he had just basically, and when you don't have a lot of motion, it slows you down. And you get to feeling as though that you can't live your own life. You can't control your own destiny. You can't make decisions, get up and move, right? And so when somebody has gotten to the point to where they're so used to pizza or Taco Bell or whatever it was that he was eating, and when you're so used to it that you can't make a change, then man, get up and start running around your house or apartment or something. Get moving, right? So, but this goal and why, when it's not in alignment, it creates a chaotic life. You just can't control anything. And so if you want, and I'm not cutting that gentleman down, because I ended up telling him, I said, look, if you want to lose weight, I can help you, but you'll have to change something because your current activities, all this stuff, has created that body. Does that make sense to you, sir? And he said, yeah, I guess it does. I said, all right. So if you just keep on doing that, you're just going to keep on gaining weight. And so we're going to have to change something, right? And so it's getting lined up and getting this big arrow pointing up, which he made that step when he contacted me. So he did choose that arrow, but just because he moved the big arrow towards the goal didn't mean all these things came into alignment. Now he has to go through, and all of these decisions that he's made, he's going to have to unmake those decisions. He's going to have to get those things, throw some in the trash, get some other ones lined up. That's the only way it can work. So my goal with these videos and my intention in these videos is to truly help people. Okay? At a zero cost to the viewer. Okay? And sometimes the truth may be a little bit tough. But I think logically you can see that what I'm telling you is just absolute facts. Is that The marketing world has gotten to the point to where there's just no bite. There's no teeth in the thing, because they just promise you that you're going to get everything that you want without doing anything. And it just makes me sick. Like, it just really is a sad state of affairs that they do that. But in the worst state of affairs, I sit there and I'm like, nobody would believe that. But they do. They believe the pill is going to make them lose weight. They believe just buy this one course and you're going to make $5 million in just 2 months, and these kinds of things. And so what I'm trying to do is trying to get you to be able to control your life so that you can attain your goals. All right. Otherwise, you'll just find yourself chasing the loudest or the latest tasks. And those tasks are really like, I forgot to order something on Amazon. That'll be the time task. Okay. So what we want is, I'm just going to read this verbatim because I spent a lot of time writing it. So when your intentions, purposes, principles, plans, projects, tasks, and calendar are in alignment with your goal, vision, all dones, and that means you accomplish something, you finish something, all dones will be contributing actions towards your goal. Dones towards your goal is the only thing that achieves goals. And if anybody tells you there's another way, no. All right? So you're the one that writes your goal. You're the one that writes why. You're the one that writes what are the principles that I'm going to work under. And you're the one that sets the project, the plan, and the project. And then you're going to put out what you think's going to achieve that goal. And when you get dones all the way up through here, you're going to be able to see whether or not they take you off the course towards your goal or they're in alignment, because you'll start seeing some results. And then these things get lined up. Do you see how they're kind of plotted here, and then they slowly get on the line, and then they're straight on the lines? You will get a momentum when you do it. All right? So when you consistently drive it in, and all those old habits, you just keep elbowing them out of the way. Yeah, you think about them. Yeah, you remember the days that you used to have a vanilla Coke. And yeah, you remember the days when blah, blah, blah. But that stuff, you just drive it out and keep on going. That's that intentional life. All right? And so that gets the done. If you don't have dones towards your goal, you'll have dones that are non-contributing actions or subtracting actions that take you away from or postpone your goal. All right? So a non-contributing action, you're not doing anything towards it, and all it does is postpone your goal. Okay? So that's the truth. Okay? I'm just telling you that that's all there is and there ain't no more. Because I've done this a lot of times. So please like and share, and then comment and tell me what about your life. Like, tell me what you've experienced. Have you been easily distracted? Have you ever dialed it in so that you're super focused? Do you know that feeling? All right. So also, I just want to remind everybody about the Telegram channel. We have spicy conversations in there. We have interplay. You can ask me questions. It's just a whole lot easier because I've got the ability to just sometimes just record an audio back to you. Sometimes videos and various different things. Sometimes I type it up. But it's just a little bit better of an interaction. But for now, please comment here on YouTube or Rumble, wherever we're at. Thanks so much for watching.